Hi, John.
Elizabeth Smart, thanks for talking to us.
Thanks for having me.
And my first question for you is, you have a documentary coming out and a movie based on your life and based on your life story and what happened to you. Can you tell me why 15 years after being taken captive, you're now deciding to tell your story?
I actually have been approached many times over the years about doing a movie or doing a documentary, and I always said no. I always didn't feel like I wanted to make myself that vulnerable. But as I've gotten to this point in my life, I've been able to meet with so many survivors and so many other victims, and one of the most common themes that I've felt as I've met with them and talked with them is that they've always felt like somehow they've been blamed, somehow they've been at fault for what happened. And so I felt like this was a good opportunity to show what it was like to actually be raped, to show what it was like to actually be kidnapped, so that hopefully when other people watch it who haven't experienced those things, that gives them a greater understanding and a greater compassion towards those other survivors who have been.
And I watched the documentary, which was very well done, by the way, so great job there. And one of the misconceptions that you wanted to address was that some people had the misconception that you were sympathetic towards your abductors. Can you tell me about that and just about that misconception and why you, when you did have the chance to maybe tell the police that who you were, why that didn't happen?
Sure. Yes, that has been a common misconception over the years. People have thought, well, you were so close to your family. Why didn't you run away? Why didn't you try harder? And for years, that question really bothered me because I didn't actually realize why it bothered me at first until I got a little bit older. And then I realized that my brain kind of understood it as, you should have tried harder. You should have run. You should have escaped. You didn't try hard enough. And that always really, well, that would hurt anyone's feelings, I think. But it's important for me to answer this question because so many other victims feel the same way. We don't run and we don't scream because we've been so manipulated. I mean, for 9 months, I was a young girl when I was kidnapped. I was 14 years old. And he rescued me, good heavens. He kidnapped me from the place that I thought was most safe in the world, and nobody was there to protect me. He took me up into the mountains behind my home where he chained me up and raped me, and no one was there to protect me or stop him or rescue me. I mean, one of the biggest searches that's ever taken place for a missing child went on, and yet no one could find me. He told me every day for 9 months that if I ever did anything, if I ever said anything that he didn't want me to, he'd kill me. And if he didn't kill me, he'd kill my family. So not only did I feel that I was protecting myself, but I felt that I was protecting my family as well. And I didn't feel like I could risk harming them. So yes, when I was out in public, when police officers approached me, I did not immediately admit who I was because I felt like I was protecting myself. I felt like I was protecting my family. My captors, up until that point, they felt like they were invincible.
Even after you were found, I think it took like 8 years or so to go to trial.
It did take a long time.
Yeah, and one of the things in the documentary that is talked about is by your father and some other people is that your testimony is one of the things that helped put them behind bars. But there was no footage of that. What was it that went on in that testimony when you gave your testimony? What is it that you said that helped to have justice be served?
Well, I spent a lot of time up in the witness stand and being examined and cross-examined, and I talked about things that I had not talked about to anyone, things that weren't known, and that actually was ultimately what led to me writing my book, because although I did sit up there and talk about things that I had never talked about before, I felt like my story, what had happened to me, was so much more than just a bullet list of facts. And I wanted people to understand, what led up to it, what happened after. And so there was a lot that came out during the trial that had never come out before.
And now in today's culture, just recently with Hollywood, it seems like there's a new allegation on a daily basis of somebody coming forward talking about their own abuse story. What do you think about the way that's been unfolding and the Me Too campaign? What do you think about that, and just does that give you hope for other people as well?
I am a huge fan of the Me Too campaign. This is a topic that I've been talking about for years, that other survivors have been talking about for years, but it's been a topic that the public has Not that they don't feel sympathy, but it's a hard topic, and so they do want to set it aside, and they do want to put it in a corner where they don't have to look at it, because it is a dark, terrible, nasty topic that you don't want to think about happening to anyone. But Me Too, so many survivors, so many women and men are coming forward talking about what's happened to them, and that is so important, because we need to address these issues head on. We need to start educating children as young as we can, so that when they get older, they know what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, that they have choices, that they don't have to sit there and be scared and allow these people to take advantage of them, that they can stand up for themselves, that they can fight back, that they can make a stand for themselves.
All right, Elizabeth Smart, thank you very much for being with us. And Twin Cities, make sure you check out the Elizabeth Smart autobiography, which is going to be a two-part series, Sunday, November 12th and Monday, November 13th at 8 p.m. on A&E, and also the Lifetime movie, I Am Elizabeth Smart, which premieres November 18th at 7 p.m.